Okay, welcome back for the final session of today, and we are going to conclude the second day of the World Food Travel Association FoodTreX Research Summit. So I would like to introduce you, Nasim Binesh. Is it right, my pronunciation? My apologies, because of course, sometimes I do some mistakes, from University of Las Vegas, US, for her presentation titled Examining the Impact of Additional Information on Restaurant Willingness to Pay. So on our topic, we talk about sustainability, destination management, web, and now we are talking about also restaurants. Thank you very much, Nazim, for being here with us, and I leave you the speech and also the screen to you. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, Andre, for this warm welcome and introduction. I'm from University of Nevada, Las Vegas, a PhD student. This is my third year, and I'm actually very honored to be able to present my work at this conference. So without further ado, let me share my slides with you. Okay, perfect. What happened? Oops. Oh, just give me a second. I don't know what happened. I will open that file again. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Let me share the screen again.
Okay.
Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes, now it works, everything. Perfect.
Okay, thank you. So the title of this paper is Examining the Impact of Historical Knowledge on Restaurant Willingness to Pay. And I worked on this study with my advisor, Dr. Amanda Blarmino, also from University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So this is the table of contents of the things I'm going to go through today. I will start with a brief introduction, followed by literature beyond hypotheses, and then I will look at the methodology, results and discussion, finally, implications, limitations, and future research. So this study is all about willingness to pay. Let me just tell you briefly what this concept is all about. It's just how much a customer is willing to pay for something means that in exchange for a product or service, how much they are willing to sacrifice the money. And it has been widely used in a wide range of disciplines as a way to gauge the customer preference, market share, and profitability. And also in restaurant industry has been used as a signal to customer satisfaction. One of the things that we found out that was the restaurateurs spend a lot of time and money on developing their recipes and menu items. But at the same time, despite the competitiveness of this industry, the willingness to pay has been very limitedly discussed in the literature. And on top of that, there have been only very limited studies that have looked at the willingness to pay when it comes to examining specific menu categories or menu items. So this study tries to bridge this gap and look at how adding historical information to menu item descriptions could influence the customer's willingness to pay for a menu item. And at the same time, we looked at other factors such as ambience, food quality, price, and service quality. So, looking at the literature review, this study is mainly based on rational choice theory, which indicates that individuals make choices according to their preferences and motivations. Also, it indicates that people make a decision to minimize the uncertainty and improve their social status. This study has used discrete choice analysis, and it this kind of analysis is based on the utility theory, which says that people tend to choose an option that maximizes their utility and preferences. And this type of analysis has been widely used in wide range of disciplines. This study is specifically targeting desserts that are prevalent in the United States. And the origin of dessert goes back to France in the 17th century. And throughout the years and centuries, it has become evolved through different cultures and had inspired a lot of new products. Uh, Also, we looked at one of the main ingredients, that is chocolate, and it's one of the most common items on dessert menus in a lot of restaurants across the globe. It was originated in Central America and Mexico, literally means gift from the gods, and it was introduced to the European market a long time ago in 1500s. And later it was used for medical purposes as well. The other item that we looked at was cheesecake. And this one, surprisingly, has a very long history. It goes back to 776 BC when it was first used in Olympic Games in Athens. And the first recipe was found around 229 AD. The New York cheesecake is that probably one of the most well-known ones was created by the owner of a restaurant in New York City, and one of the restaurant chains that is also very famous across the globe, Cheesecake Factory, was built around that recipe and the variations of that. When it comes to willingness to pay, a lot of studies have looked at the factors that influences willingness to pay in restaurants. And the main factors that we found were food quality, service quality, the ambience, the price of the product. And there were some studies that looked at adding descriptive items to the menu, but it was more like adding like a nutrition label, or like a wine bottle and some information on a wine bottle and how it actually influenced the customer's willingness to pay for that bottle. So based on this literature, these are the hypotheses of this study. We hypothesized that food quality, service quality, ambience, and real price significantly impact willingness to pay for desserts in restaurants. Also, we hypothesized including historical information about the menu item significantly impacts willingness to pay for dessert items in restaurants, and it also significantly impacts behavioral intention for desserts in restaurants. For methodology, we use choice-based conjoint analysis, and we conducted 2 surveys of a total of 1,300 American consumers. We screened out those that had allergy, and we used conjointly software for data analysis. So for the actual survey, for the actual conjoint analysis that we did, we gave the participants a series of choices, and for the menu items, we got the price as the average of the nationwide chain restaurants, and we also added alternate prices, like 1 standard deviation above and 1 below the average, to give them a wider range of prices to choose. And we used the most popular 8-ending digit, which was 9. We used 3 methods to calculate the part worth utilities, attribute importance, preference for levels, and marginal willingness to pay. So here you see a sample of what the participants were given to choose from. So for example, here they were given to choose between a chocolate cake or a cheesecake, and the price for both were same, but the restaurant attributes were different. For example, here the service quality for chocolate cake restaurant was 4, the other one was only 2 stars. And at the bottom, you see a fun fact about chocolate. So in the study that we used, the chocolate cake survey, we actually added a fun fact about the chocolate, and the other one, we added a fun fact about cheesecake. 650 responses were collected for each of the surveys, a total of 1,300, as I mentioned before, but some of those responses were invalid, so you didn't use them in the final data analysis. Here you see the findings based on the preferences of the participants in the study. As you can see here, in the chocolate cake study and the cheesecake study, food quality was the most important factor. However, in these two, the service quality was different. In chocolate cake, it was the second most important attribute, and the cheesecake study was the third. And also you see that price, ambience were also the important ones. So those that have the star were also statistically significant. And you see that the menu item was only significant for the chocolate cake study, and fun fact was not significant for any of either of the studies. Here you see the parts worth utilities, and to sum this up, if you look at the menu items and the willingness to pay, you see that for the chocolate cake study, that added a fun fact about the chocolate, the willingness to pay for the chocolate was actually increased by $4.45, while it reduced the willingness to pay for the cheesecake by $4.45. And in the cheesecake study that had a fun fact about cheesecake, you see that the willingness to pay for the cheesecake was increased by $1.10, while it was reduced $1.10 for the chocolate cake study. This shows that actually adding a fact that was not related to the product had a negative impact on the willingness to pay. Also, you see that for the different attributes that had only 1 star, it had a negative impact on willingness to pay, and some of those also 2 stars will had a negative impact on willingness to pay. But in general, when the star rating for the quality and the ambience goes higher, also goes higher the willingness to pay for the product. In both of the studies, chocolate cake was the most preferred item between the two. So the hypotheses of the study, the first 4 ones about the food quality and service quality, ambience, and real price were supported, which also supports the previous research in this domain. However, about adding historical information, we didn't find any support for that, but we saw the adding the historical information had an impact on the behavioral intention of the customers. So we also provided dessert searches from 2016 to 2020 here in the United States, and you see that cheesecake stands on top, while the participants in this study actually chose chocolate cake. So this could also mean that they prefer to have chocolate cake in a restaurant, and they could probably be interested in making a cheesecake at home instead. In terms of implications, this study has a lot of practical and theoretical implications. It shows that the dining experience itself is very important. The restaurant ambience, the quality of the service has an impact on the willingness to pay for a dessert at the end of the meal. And also it shows the importance of being able to change the menu item prices. So some of the solutions that we saw after COVID-19, like the QR code, could be very, very helpful here. So we also saw that even though the historical and cultural information were not significant, they had different impacts depending on the menu item described. So this could be also another things that restaurateurs could look at. to not probably add distracting information on menu. In terms of theory, this work extends the work on rational choice and emotional choice theory, and is the first to our knowledge that investigated the impact of willingness to pay for restaurants, as desserts in restaurants, and is one of the few that use conjoint analysis. And also expands the literature in restaurant consumer behavior and the work on impact of incomplete information on decision making. This study only concentrated on two types of desserts. There are tons of different types of desserts in different countries and regions, and we only specifically focus on American consumer. So future studies could look at different regions and the cultural differences. And also, we only looked at the data that was actually produced just after vaccines were initiated in the US during the spring of 2021. A similar type of study could look at how the things have changed like 6 months after the vaccines were introduced, and if there have been any changes in the customer preferences. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Nasim, for your presentation. And
Thank you.
We have a question. Ronaldo
Sure.
is asking a curiosity. It seems that cheesecake searches in the internet have a seasonal component. What will be the reason behind it?
Sorry, just oh yeah, I so because we're talking about American consumer, it's most probably because of the holidays. Like when it comes like during the spring, for example, is one of the times that it is very popular there. Also for like around specific like Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day times that people have more free time at home and they could be cooking at home. That's also a time that they could be looking for recipes for cheesecake.
Okay, thank you very much. So I don't know if others have other question. Not yet. I have a question, a curiosity also to me.
Sure.
May you, so I don't want to stress you and reopen your presentation, but what quite surprised me is that one of the hypotheses was not supported. Of course, also in the conclusions, you said that, okay, it is not supported, but this doesn't mean that people are not interested in giving also historical information. Because, for example, in our study on food tourism and in Italy, and maybe can be the difference linked to the country, we found that people love to find on menu and also through interaction information about the history of the recipe, the history of the products. So, in your opinion, why it was also surprising to you to find these differences between general and specific to dessert? And if you can give me also more information about this.
Sure. It's actually, I'm very happy that you mentioned this. It's also one of the things that we just added in the limitations and the future research is like looking at those cultural differences and also looking at how different countries and different desserts items or like other food items and how adding those information could influence the willingness to pay for that item, for example. But for this study specifically, we showed that it actually has an influence on behavioral intention. So instead of looking at the willingness to pay, we could be looking at how it influences their choice, for example, and how it like we saw that adding a distraction information when it's like about an item that is not, they have been looking at, like something that is not related to the menu, they didn't like that. So this also shows that maybe they were not interested in seeing something that is not related to the menu item, for example. And again, it's something that we would love to look at in the future, looking at how these like variations of information and also variations in the menu item itself could influence customers. Again, one of the things that we saw in the literature, for example, was those nutrition labels, like how many calories this one has or doesn't. So that's one of the things that many people could be interested in that, but how we can actually put something that is also more, as you said, informational and historical, and that could be also influential on the customers' behavior and willingness to pay.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries.
Okay, also Karen from our attendees thinks that it would be very interesting also to analyze cultural differences. So you have also room for new and new implementation of your study. Okay, 6 minutes to the end. So I think that we can conclude. I want to thank you, of course, you, Nasim, for your presentation. I want to thank all the speakers of today. I think that we have a very valuable and very interesting presentation. So I want to thank also Eric for everything, for managing, for also be the organizer of such interesting and valuable conference. Okay, thank you very much. And as Eric reminds to all of us, the recording and other materials will be sent within 7 calendar days. Okay? So we also replied to the other attendee that would like to have the slide, but also the registration. Okay. Thank you very much to everyone. And bye.
Thank you so much for having me.